now.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Ask Us Anything webinar here on the Private Areas Launch Party Day. So today is July 31st, 2017, if you're watching the replay of this video after the fact. But today, a little earlier in the morning, Private Areas rolled out in the LifterLMS store. And if you are an Infinity Bundle customer, you saw it show up as a download available in your account. And today we also rolled out a new version of LifterLMS, the core plugin. We're at 3.11.1, I believe.
Sure.
0.0. So that's that is there and out there in the world. I'd like to welcome my co-hosts to this webinar. I'm Chris Badgett from LifterLMS, and I'm joined today by Thomas Levy and Ali Mathis. Thanks for coming on the webinar, you guys.
Anytime.
All right. And we're here to get your questions answered about private areas and the Infinity Bundle. And really, it's a Ask Us Anything opportunity for you guys. This morning, we did a Facebook Live. If you are not in the LifterLMS Facebook community yet, I would encourage you to join. Just go to Facebook groups and search for LifterLMS VIP, and you'll find it. You can see the replay of this morning's Facebook Live where Ali and I went into 10 different ways to use private areas and covered some questions and started talking about what it's all about, and just fielded questions in there. But hopefully some of you have some questions about private areas, what it is and how to use it. But just to go over it in a quick nutshell, what private areas allows you to do is to create private posts between the teacher and the student. It can be per student, per course, or per member, per membership. We also rolled out a really awesome feature called automations, where you can pre-schedule basically a series of private posts that drip out over time. And those can be triggered automatically off of which access plan people use. So the most common use case of that is if you have a course and you sell that course for $100, and then you have an upsell where you offer that same course plus coaching for $1,000, you could have a whole series of private posts scheduled advanced to roll out if they enroll through the course plus coaching access plan there. So that's an update to the LifterLMS core that gives you a new engagement trigger where you can tie into which access plan somebody enrolled through. So whenever we roll out new products at LifterLMS, we're often also updating the core. In this case, we added some new things to the core LifterLMS plugin. But that is, in a nutshell, what private areas is all about. Today is the last day of our basically pre-launch window for private areas. So after midnight at Pacific Standard Time tonight, the price of private areas is going up to the full retail, and the pre-purchase pricing level at $449 for the Infinity Bundle is moving up as well. So today is the last chance to take advantage of that pre-launch pricing window. So if anybody has any questions about pricing, happy to get into that as well. But we are here. What's that?
I love a good sale. I hate paying full price for anything.
Yeah,
I'm just really excited about the pricing.
Yeah, and we actually, there were two people today who won. We ran a giveaway who won free copies of 1 year of private areas, and one lucky person out there got a free t-shirt. So yeah, lots of action today around private areas. I think many of you have used Zoom before, but if you haven't, and you're not just calling in, but you're using the Zoom application on your phone or on your computer, there's a Q&A box at the bottom. I'd encourage you to use that to ask your questions. You can ask in the chat if you like, but it'll be better for us on our end if you have questions coming in through the Q&A. So while you guys are joining, we've got more people rolling in here. I just want to say hello to Amy, Annette, BJ, Farouk, Jesse, Joe, Kirsten, Mark, Michael, Ronald, and somebody on a Samsung SMG930V. Welcome to the webinar.
I think BJ was one of our winners, Chris.
Oh, was he? Congratulations, BJ. I hope so. I hope you are. So, so if you guys would go ahead and head on over to the Q&A box if anybody has any questions about private areas, or you want to talk about how you might be using them for your training programs and learning platform. We also have we can show you our screen and show you various features if you're interested in that. But this is a Ask Us Anything webinar, so please speak up and let us know what's on your mind and what questions you have and how we can help you. Otherwise, you guys are going to.
Thomas and I will just try to stop Chris's really hard question.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll talk more about different ways to use it and kind of prime the pump for some questions out there.
And people out there can also ask us about the Infinity Bundle too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Private Areas is actually the second product to roll out of the Infinity Bundle. Technically, the first was your office hours.
Correct. And then next up is the social learning add-on, followed by the advanced quizzes and assignment grading. So let's see, got a comment here. He got his site up and running, had some technical difficulties. He noticed that the lesson sidebar display using the shortcode display is great. However, on the course sidebar, there's a bit of overlap between the latest private posts and new private posts. No shortcode question, no shortage of questions from you. Well, we fully expect that. I mean, when you whenever somebody's new to LifterLMS, it's a complex piece of software. It does a lot. Often you have a lot of questions, and that's okay. But
try version 1.0.1. I shipped everything very early this morning and then missed a couple things. That was one of them. So 1.0.1 loads the correct styles, so everything's not all bunched up when you're looking at it on a lesson page. Due to caching reasons, you might not see that available immediately. But just make sure you install the LifterLMS helper, activate your add-on using your license key, and within the next couple hours, you should see that. Annette, that same issue, we have a minimum version requirement for LifterLMS private areas. It needs LifterLMS 3.11. There's a couple new features in 3.11 that allow private areas to function. Unfortunately, I missed one piece of code in our asset loader that checks for the minimum version. So I'm very sorry about that. But again, if you get 1.0.1 and LifterLMS, so 1.0.1 corrects that version check, so that if you don't have 3.11 installed, your website won't crash. Again, I'm sorry. But if you grab 1.0.1, that will install with older versions of LifterLMS, although it won't actually function. It just won't crash your website. In short, get 3.11 and 1.0.1, and you'll be good to go.
Awesome. Ronald asks, he has the Infinity Bundle, but has not yet started with it. Do I install it like any ordinary WordPress plugin? Any precautions I should keep in mind? That is a great question. So the Infinity Bundle is a collection of plugins. It's also, there's a theme in there called Launchpad. There's also some, in LifterLMS Pro, you have some digital downloads like design certificate backgrounds and achievement badge graphics packs, as well as some notification icons that you can use. There's a lot that goes into the Infinity Bundle. Mostly it's plugins that you install like any other WordPress plugin, but it is a common thing if people are thinking it's all plugins that they accidentally try to upload the LifterLMS Pro zip file or the Launchpad theme zip file as a plugin, which they're not. So yeah, the best thing to do after you get it is to log into your account on LifterLMS.com. And if you go to your downloads, you can see where you can download everything. And then mostly just note that Launchpad is not a plugin, and the LifterLMS Pro graphics pack is a zip file that you should unzip and see, check out those graphics and see what you might be interested in using. So I hope that helps, Ronald. If you have more questions on that, please let us know. All right. This is
I'll
Mark.
also just add to that,
Yeah.
Chris. Just anything, when you install anything, always back your website up. That's just like a best practice. One, to cover our own butts here at LifterLMS, but you'll be very, very thankful when you get into the habit of always backing up your website before installing any plugin. It's just a great best practice. So.
Or
And on that note,
site.
yeah, go ahead, Allie.
No, that was about it. I was just going to say, I hear this from Thomas all the time. Like, it's best to test new things out in a staging environment.
Absolutely, and this is why we love WP Engine ourselves, because they make it super easy. They have a daily backup that happens automatically. They have restore points you can tie into. They have a staging environment where you can test updates before you actually, install something on your live production site. And it's just a beautiful thing, and it's not the cheapest hosting account on the planet, but gosh, is it useful and come in handy for testing things and backups, and yeah, that's why we're a huge proponent of WP Engine.
And that's also a recommendation that comes from experience. We use WP Engine to host all of our internal web properties right now, and that's quite a few of them, and we just love it. It's a lifesaver. So.
Looks like we have another question from Mark about Lifty support.
That's the second time today. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. Michelle Noonan got us on London time, and Mark's coming in. So we know the Divi community is very passionate, and Lifty is an important part of making LifterLMS compatible with LifterLMS, between LifterLMS and Divi. But we don't have, correct me if I'm wrong, Thomas, Lifty support for the private areas post types as of this time?
Not as of this time. It is a small ask. I can't recall, but I think Mark may have been the one that brought this up on our kind of preview webinar a couple of weeks ago. It's on my list of things to do, but my list of things to do right towards the end of the release grows immeasurably, and I never get all of it done. So that's something that we'll be releasing in the next couple of weeks. We will have an update to Lifty. We will support. We will add support for the private post type, but as of this moment, no, I'm sorry, Mark, we don't have it. That said, those who kind of know a little bit of development don't necessarily have to wait on me. Lifty is a collection of a very small number of actions that make like some magic happen. So for those who are willing to delve into Divi's documentation, it's well documented how to add Divi support to custom post types. That's what I'm going to do, but if you need it today, go ahead and open up Divi's documentation and you'll be able to do it. Like it's not very difficult. Or wait for me to get it done, which will be a couple weeks. So sorry, Mark.
Awesome. We love it though. We love how passionate the Divi community is. Leah asks, she invested in the Infinity Bundle and she wants to confirm when she moves her course to a new site and delete it from the previous one, she will be able to use the same license key. So basically the way it works with LifterLMS licenses is a license gives you access to automatic updates and support. So if you ever need to move your license key from one site to another, all you have to do is just deactivate that license key on the whatever site you had it active on, and then activate it on the new one. If you try to activate it on the new one and it's already activated somewhere else, it's not going to work. So it's just a matter of switching which site it's active on, and it does happen from time to time when some people decide later that they do want to upgrade to the developer license. They're going to run multiple Lifter projects, or they're doing Lifter sites for clients or whatever. We can help upgrade later. But I think your question is really just about moving keys around, and you should be fine with that. Do you have any more detail, Thomas, on the best way to do it?
Yeah, I mean, you can either deactivate. One thing that does happen from time to time is maybe you activate it on a local testing site and you've now deleted that testing site. You're not stuck at that point. You can always log into your account, lifterlms.com/myaccount. And there's some deactivation buttons on that main licenses screen as well. So you can always deactivate it from the cloud, and then reactivate it somewhere else. The other thing I'd like to note is that we get this question a lot, but we don't actually disable any functionality if your license is deactivated. So I feel comfortable sharing this with a small group of people. That technically means that once you have the plugin, you can install it on as many sites as you want. And there's not much we can do about it. Now, I don't really want you to go do that. That's what the developer license is for. But really the license allows you to get support and to get automatic updates there. So if you are, working on a local staging site or a WP Engine staging site or something like that, you can very easily use a single site license to manage both of those. My recommendation there is to activate your live site, and then you can very easily simply just delete plugins and install manually when there's an update you want to test in your staging site. And you don't need an activation key. You don't need your license to be active in your staging site and your live site to make that happen. You can just go to your account page under My Files at LifterLMS.com and then download the new versions as they come out, test them out there, and then do the one-click auto updater through WordPress from your live sites that are activated with our licensing servers. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, that's just like, if you don't activate it, it's not like all of a sudden your website's going to break and nothing will work and you don't have your magic functionality. I just like to make that clear.
Mark Mays says that him and Michelle Noonan tag team from the Divi community. So my challenge to you, Mark, is to see if you can get somebody in the Australian time zone to come to our Twitter party later tonight. And then we can see from all from across the globe. That'd be cool. So Amy asks about Beaver Builder compatibility. So with private areas specifically, I have not tested it yet, but Beaver Builder tends to pick up custom post types. You just have to like enable it in the settings. So I would test that, but I haven't tested that myself yet. So
yeah, in general,
ahead.
you probably shouldn't have any. Well, that's maybe not actually true. There's two things that our Lifty add-on does, and I've spoken with the guys at Beaver Builder, and this is something that we plan on building. It's a little bit more complicated. We hacked together this bit of functionality to show. Like there's two versions of all the content on a course. There's the version that your student sees and the version that your visitors see. So there's like a CSS class you can add to Divi in order to make it so you can build that using the page builder, but then also still display that content to the admins. Now the problem with doing that with Beaver Builder is because Beaver Builder is a front-end editor entirely. If you switch to that front end to start working with Beaver Builder, your content disappears based on your enrollment status because Beaver Builder isn't paying attention to our statuses because we haven't built an integration to make it pay attention. So again, it's on our backlog. It's one of those things that I really want to invest some time in, but I really appreciate the community's patience because there are so many things we could build integrations for. There are so many new features we could build. If anybody, I'm sure most of you have looked at our feature request list. It's just a matter of time before we get that stuff ironed out and built. So you probably will run into an issue with private areas because there's really no front end of a private area unless you're a student. So while you might be able to pick up the custom post type with Beaver Builder, like Chris said, I didn't test it either. It wasn't on my list of things to do before launch here, but you might not be able to use the page builder with Beaver Builder because of that. Sorry, the Beaver Builder with private posts because of that. So I'm sorry. Third-party integrations are, again, they're one of those things that like we need to find more time to do, so I don't have a yes, that's coming. I mean, yes, that's coming. I don't have a timeline on when that'll be available. Sorry.
Good question though. Yeah, Beaver Builder is a great great page builder, and I'm keeping a close eye on what they've done there with Beaver Themer as well. So when things settle down a little bit, I'm personally going to take a closer look at Beaver Themer and just see how Lifter and Beaver Builder play together, because they are a good combination that it works pretty good now, but we can go deeper on both sides, on the Lifter side and the Beaver Builder side. So it's something we'll continue to explore.
The other thing I'd love to encourage you guys to do is let Beaver Builder know that you want a LifterLMS integration. And I say that a little bit playfully, but if you look at every theme on ThemeForest that has support for WooCommerce natively, that's because WooCommerce users are so prevalent. Like there's a couple billion downloads on WordPress.org as opposed to the 10,000 or 100,000 that we have, or something along those lines. So everybody's going to build support for WooCommerce natively. Now, because we're a smaller community, it doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. It just means we're growing. But if the community gets more vocal and goes to Beaver Builder and says like, hey, can you add Beaver Builder, LifterLMS support? Beaver Builder might do it if they hear it from enough people, because they want to keep their user base happy, and they don't want you guys disappearing to Elementor or something else because Elementor added LifterLMS support or something along those lines. So yes, we do want to build the integration, but you guys can perhaps make Beaver Builder build it for us by asking them for help. And I say that specifically with Beaver Builder because they put a vote out a while ago. It was either in their Slack channel or Facebook group, but like who should we ask support for to Themer? And I don't even think they put WooCommerce on the list because I think they ship with WooCommerce support. But Tribe Events Calendar Pro is on there, and we were on there, and a couple other learning management systems and stuff like that. So they're going to take feedback from the community just like we will. So help us out there, please.
Amy said that they voted in the Facebook poll.
Thank you.
For Lifter integration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Looks like we have a raised hand.
Yeah, we're going to go to Farouk here. I'm going to promote you up to panelist. And that's going to give you the audio there. What's going on, Farouk?
Your microphone's muted, just so you know.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. Chris, I have a comment, and I hope, I don't know, I hope you're not bothered with this.
It's okay.
Yeah. Two things. I read on Chris Lemma's blog that WordPress plugins are ridiculously cheap, and I do agree with that. Okay. Yours is definitely not, and it is worth every penny, especially with the Infinity bundle and the pre-sales. And why do I agree with Chris Lemma on higher pricing? Because I do believe the more the customers support the developers, the better they can invest in the prices. For example, I love Elementor, but I believe the prices are too low. I just don't want them to go away off the market in a few years. I'd really like to support them, pay them more, and see them grow with me. And that is what I really would like to happen with Lifter. I would really like to see Lifter progress, and I really believe this is happening right now. Now, the thing I wanted to mention is that your market is actually, your product is a very successful one, you're growing, and all of a sudden there are too many features that people are asking. Suddenly there are too many people that are asking for support. Your Infinity sale was a huge success, like you mentioned a couple of days ago. The point I wanted to say, and I'm hesitating to say it or not, is this. I believe having a sole developer is not enough anymore. Perhaps another Thomas might be necessary to help other features, to focus on core features, to focus on integrations, because I believe at some point, not too far away, things might get out of hand. And that's what I wanted to say.
Well, that's a great point of feedback, and we really appreciate that. And, you know, we agree with you. It's one of the reasons why we laid out the vision for the Infinity Bundle so that people could, invest in the future at a discount of what it was going to end up being. And also, we do have expensive pricing in the WordPress space, but that is because we want to have a sustainable company for all the points that you mentioned, which includes growing the team. So I really appreciate that feedback. We've actually we're in a process right now where we have some people coming on and to help on the support side of LifterLMS. So we're always looking to grow, but with any entrepreneurship venture, there are constraints. Constraints are our friends in that they keep us focused on the top priority and making sure that we are prioritizing correctly. But I agree with you. It would be beautiful to, get to that inflection point where we are, where the team grows to not only avoid a fallout, but also to accelerate progress. So it's a very good comment. I appreciate that. And, the development team is stretched thin, and Lifter's gone through phases with, more and less developers. And where we are right now, I know we're at a pretty maxed out point, but also, we did just hit our deadline for the private areas, which is great.
We're an hour late.
An hour
Wow.
late. But,
that's negligible.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I do really appreciate your point, Farouk, and yeah, we want to grow too. And another interesting way to look at that comment is to also look at the feature board, the feature request voting board that we have on Trello. If anybody listening hasn't seen that yet, maybe Ali, you could throw a link to that.
Uh-huh.
There's no way we can build every single thing on there, and we also don't claim to have all the we want to hear from the community. We're looking for trends, but we also have a vision for the product where we don't want to end up with too many features that it becomes unmanageable. So
isn't that where private areas came from? Like originally,
yeah.
Wasn't this a sort of a feature that the community was really interested in, and that's why we decided to push this to the forefront of the roadmap?
Yeah. It's the community showed significant interest. And part of it is just our vision for the company and what LifterLMS does in the learning space, and that, we've said this from day one before a single line of code was written for LifterLMS, that we wanted to create software that actually helps with learning and completion of courses. Because the dirty little secret of the membership site industry is that 90% of online courses are not completed, and that's why we developed the whole engagement system and strategy from the very beginning. Private areas and the ability to do personalized, individualized coaching is a part of that. But yeah, just coming back to your point, it'll be interesting in terms of the team itself at LifterLMS.com, and we do want to grow intelligently, and we do want to remove bottlenecks where they exist and still build a first-class product, make sure we don't end up with, too many features or, not investing in, the community is another big part. Like other companies are building products that tie into Lifter, which is a huge part of the growth as well. So it's all kind of related. But over to you, Thomas. Like, what are your thoughts on Farouk's comments there?
He's 100% correct. It's probably been too much for one developer for a solid year now. But without getting too much into like the financials of our company, we are a client services agency, and we've gone through dramatic changes in the past, year and a half, since last June or July of 2016. The company, so I guess that's more like a year. Sorry, not a year and a half. But the company is a completely different company today than it was this time last year. And anybody who's been following along since then can remember our 3.0 release. the significant business changes we made at that point in our pricing structure and things like that. We've taken a lot of heat, but I think all of the decisions we're making are in order to reach a point where we can continue to grow the team, because we have grown the team, and we will continue to do so. And at this moment, we look at things and say, what is the most valuable next team member? It's probably a developer at a certain point, but right now my biggest bottleneck is support. So the next hires we're bringing in will be support representatives to help alleviate, me as a support bottleneck. I can do support, but it's not my highest and greatest use. So if we can get more support, then I can spend more time developing. And the other thing about hiring more developers is that we've learned as a client service agency that you cannot just sick a junior developer on a project and expect the project to go well. So we are not currently willing to sick junior developers or new developers or developers that aren't very familiar with LifterLMS as a code base onto new features in order to just churn out new features. Because if we do that, we'll be doing a disservice. I ship enough bugs as it is. We started the webinar here talking about a couple of those. So if we just have kind of free reign where I don't have the capacity to review code and we just have other developers shipping new features, we end up with a Frankenstein product that's full of bugs and aren't kind of architected around a core, vision or framework or system or methodology. So of course that's all excuses, you know what I mean? But it's just a matter of time, I need the capacity to be able to work with and train developers so that developers can write good code and ship good products. So it's coming, and I really, really appreciate that feedback. You're absolutely correct. Like it's too much for me as a sole developer, and I guess I appreciate you noticing that, because sometimes I'm like, does anybody understand what I do here? I'm tired, and I don't, as like 50% of this company, I don't really get to like rest on that, but it does cross my mind. So I appreciate you acknowledging that, and I also, we really appreciate you investing. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of this, is like, we can get some investment into our future. We can continue to grow the company, and that's happening, So I think in the next 3 to 6 months, probably, there will be additional developers working on LifterLMS. The other thing I'd like to note too is that LifterLMS has been an open source project since March of 2014, no, 15, whatever it was, for a while now, and that means our code base is completely up on GitHub, and we do have a small number of third-party contributors that have just submitted code and features and things like that. And of course, I still am the bottleneck there, because just because they submit the pull request doesn't mean it gets into the code base or is a new feature. Or just because they submit a pull request doesn't mean it's something that we want in LifterLMS and that we're going to accept. But while I'm talking here, like, if anybody's a developer and they want to submit code, you can, and it is greatly appreciated, no matter how big or small that code is. It's an open source project, so it can grow that way. And that's if you look at a project like WooCommerce, like Yoast SEO, like any of these big WordPress plugins, and you go look at their contributor list, there's a couple hundred or more people on them. And those are all developers that are just helping out with small bug fixes and patches, and maybe not necessarily new features, but that's one way we hope to grow too. And we've kind of started that process by partnering with the third-party theme developers that have been kind of cropping up over the last 6 months that are developing LifterLMS themes. We've got a couple of plugin developers that are building LifterLMS add-ons on their own. So it's not only just growing LifterLMS itself, it's also all the other features. Like Dennis just released that note-taking plugin. That's something that people have been asking us for, I don't know, probably since LifterLMS started. And it's like, yes, that's generally useful, but it's not something we're going to focus and build into the core. And then Dennis went and built it. So now the community has it. And anyway, so it's, it's growing. And that's really cool to see those kind of organic things just pop up. Without us having to do anything. They just appear. Dennis was like, hey, I built it. Like, cool, thank you.
Yeah, and I just also want to highlight Michelle Noonan over in the Divi community. I know she's working on a course for people, which is training on how to use LifterLMS alongside Divi together, which is great. So it's also, helping. That may help reduce support and adds values in different ways to the LifterLMS community. So there's a lot of different ways to contribute, and I don't know how many people have contributed to the language translations of LifterLMS into the various languages. but it's a huge part of the the group effort against the project. But that's you hit on a good subject, Farouk. Do you and what any other comments or anything related to that?
Well, no, I just wanted to thank you. And yes, I do want to point out the one that you mentioned, the fact that Lifter is almost bloat-free, not too many useless, let's say, all of the features are useful. It's good that it's not bloated. It's good that you have different, it is divided into different parts. You can upload the ones you need. You can use the ones you want. For example, I may not use the social learning plugin in the future, but I will definitely use other features. And Thomas, finding another person like you might be difficult, but like you mentioned, another developer like you, but like you mentioned, some support could help free your time to focus on the core plugin. And as you mentioned, one thing I do like about Lifter is that the code is written 100% by the team. There is, let's say, nothing, it isn't a workaround, like you're not using, as far as I know, BuddyPress or BBPress to develop private areas or social learning and stuff like that. That is very valuable. Or your twist. Yeah, I know you have written every bit of code. You're not using someone else's plugin and let's say develop that one. That is really appreciated, of course. And thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a big part of what some would call moving slow in order to move fast. Like we try really hard not to take shortcuts, like bundling in other plugins. We do have an optional BuddyPress integration, but our ultimate goal is to have social learning components designed specifically for the needs of course creators and membership site owners. So we're building it from the ground up. It's going to take longer, but it's just going to be a better fit and less quote bloated than just trying to tie into something else. So there's always this challenge of being an all-in-one solution and then integrating externally when it makes sense. But we try, we try to not have dependencies in our product. So
Great.
thanks for the great conversation, Farouk. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Looks like we had a few questions actually pop up in the chat if we want to bounce over there before we hit the Q&A.
Sure. What have we missed here, Allie?
Michael Wolf. Let's see.
Is this the one at the very bottom, or to create a page? Where does that start?
I've now set up private areas for 2 different courses as a student. Now the question comes up for combining multiple class private areas into one view. Wondering if this would be the use case for a membership that you spoke of once.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. So private areas, you don't actually, am I muted? No, I didn't mute.
No, you're not muted.
Michael, you don't, yeah, that's interesting. That wasn't something that occurred to me. So there's a future potential feature, which I guess this kind of gives a vote for in a way, although not exactly what you're looking for, would be the private area doesn't actually get created by that shortcode. If you check, I'll grab a shortcode while I'm trying, or the documentation while I'm trying to talk. I'm going to paste that in here right now. If you check out that documentation, that shortcode you're using creates information about the private area. It doesn't actually create the private area. Okay, so yeah, you've already seen that then. So if you want to display both of those on the same page, so you have 2 courses and you want to show private information about each one of them, you could absolutely do that. You'll need to use the post ID parameter of that shortcode, which you can get that. That's the WP post custom post type course ID. Easiest way to do that is if you look at the URL bar when you're editing your course, there's like a post ID equals parameter. You could grab that and then you could use that parameter in your shortcode. One for each course, and you could display both of them on the same page. That's not going to show a list of all the private area posts, though. That's just going to show links to each of those 2 private areas. Because remember, private areas are unique to a student and to a course and/or membership. Would apply at a class level. What do you mean by class level? By a class level. he might be typing. Like a course, like the class. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That post ID would apply to an individual course or class, is what you're referring to. As a programmer, class means something different to me. So I'm like, although I understand what you're saying now. So yeah. So each of your courses will have its own course ID. And then you can create one private area information shortcode for each of those courses. But so the potential feature, which might be useful to you, is so the way that private area works, then it'll create that link. You'll click the private area. That'll bring you into that'll bring your student into the feed of their private posts. That is the post ID. Yes. The post ID is what you're looking for. Maybe I can, here's a good opportunity to share my screen real quick. And I'll show you kind of how to find this. Let's see.
While Thomas is getting his screen share ready, if anybody else wants to go live like Farouk did there and just have a live discussion, feel free to raise your hand in the Zoom. There's a little raise hand thing down in your controls. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead, Thomas.
Sure. So my messy local site, but when you're looking at a course, you want this. Oh, sorry, it's just post equals, not post ID. This is what you're looking for in your URL bar, Michael. That number 13. In my case, it's 13300. You could plug that into your shortcode on just a regular page or whatever. Of course, I forget what the shortcode is. And then generally this should probably work, although I'm not logged in as a student here. So let's do a post ID. Do I have that? No. Something along these lines should get your private post working for you. And now, so there's a couple. I guess I didn't document this. The shortcode doesn't do anything if you don't have any private posts or if you're not the student. So since I'm looking at this as an admin, my admin doesn't have any private posts because it's not made for me. So I need to look at this as a student who actually has a private post, and then it'll show some stuff up. So let me just let me make one for. Anyway, it's a little too complicated. But anyway, so when your student views that page that I just made, I'm not going to go through all the steps there. But when the student views that page, then they'll be able to see their list of private posts. Hopefully Chris, do you feel like I nailed that?
Yeah. I mean, don't
cross the finish line with that tutorial, but that's the general idea.
If you're watching this and a little bit intimidated, Michael's question there is kind of a power user kind of customize it, without writing custom code by modifying the shortcodes a little bit. So don't be scared by that. It's just
let me actually, Chris, let me interrupt you. Let me just do a sample of like what the student would actually experience, like the general, the not power user implementation.
Sure.
So it's a little less intimidating. But in short, I wrote some quick documentation on this too. So if you just, Ali's been dropping the link in the chat, but there's a little tutorial on how to do this. But this private area information widget will do the exact same thing that Michael's looking for. It'll work perfectly on course or lesson sidebars, and you don't have to do any funny business. You don't need to get an ID. This will just dynamically create the private area information widget based on the currently logged in user and whatever course or lesson. If it's a lesson, it will populate up to whatever lesson that course belongs to. So this will do the same thing. So if you're just trying to show a private area on your course sidebar, you can just drop this in there. And let me just go get registered for a course real quick. I know Chris isn't a huge fan of this one because there's a picture of my funny pig. But pig is so cute. So
I haven't seen that. That's cute.
Yeah. So let me just get registered for this course really quickly, and then we should see the private area automatically. I have an automation set up, which we can talk about more later, but I should get a private post immediately upon registering for this course. So this office hours widget is what we're talking about here. That can be, it does the same exact thing as that shortcode that we were talking about previously, except it has a little simpler interface to get it displayed. So that's what that will look like on your screen, Michael, once you get it all configured properly, assuming that your student actually has a private post assigned to them. So if you don't add any private posts, there will not be a private post area for the student to view. So that's that feels a little bit better, right, Chris?
Yeah, totally. And one of the things Thomas was showing there, you could see he was calling it office hours. You can rename private areas to whatever name you want. You may want to call it office hours. You may want to call it, coach's corner or my area or whatever. It's just part of the general settings for private areas. Thomas is showing it on the screen right now. You can rename the area name, and you can also rename what the hosts are called. So you don't have to use the word private area, and you don't have to use the word private post unless you want to. You can change it if you want. And we've given you a setting for that because for day one, people would call it lots of different things.
What are some other examples, Chris? Do you think of some good names for that area, different use cases?
It depends on what the core subject matter is. Like this morning, we were getting some questions from music teachers. So they, they might call it something like my music room or music studio or, it's just whatever language makes sense to your students for, the place where the teacher and the student would have private dialogue. Could be an office, could be a studio, could be, if you're in the fitness industry, you might call it, I don't know, training area or something like that. So lots of options.
Thomas, Leah says that you did a good job on support this week. She really appreciated your help and you took time. She could see that and it contributed to convincing her to purchase the Infinity Bundle.
Oh, great. That's really great to hear. We're always kind of internally wondering, like, does great support lead to good sales? Not that it's all about money, but I mean, ultimately I'll just rant because I don't know why Chris puts me on a microphone because I'm
go ahead.
We're
raw and
honest.
honest.
The mute button if I need to.
But I use LifterLMS.com uses WooCommerce. We use a bunch of WooCommerce extensions. Our Help Scout or our help desk is run by a third-party plugin. So we are, in a way, we're kind of our own customers, although we don't use LifterLMS support. We use other premium WordPress plugin support. And I just think on a whole, and again, I'm using examples of much larger teams than us. So of course they have much larger plugins. They have much larger user bases and therefore way, way, way more support than we can currently imagine. But I just don't like the responses I get most of the time when I submit support tickets. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but we really just try to, I don't know, we like you guys and we know that without, your success, we can't continue to build LifterLMS. We can't continue to build new features and kind of support our own companies. So I appreciate hearing that, but we really, really want to just make sure that, we treat all of our customers really, really well. So
and if it's
try to do really good support.
Yeah, it's a big part of what we do. And as we grow, it's really important for us to maintain that quality. And it's something we're really, really proud of is, your success is our success. And it's never fun and it might be frustrating or you might have some, just stressful moments if things aren't working out or something crashes or you install something and it doesn't quite work right or you're having some kind of conflict. It's not fun. It's not comfortable. But I think I'm just, as a company, I'm super proud of the level of support we provide. And, we get it if you're frustrated or, you're having a conflict and you're just stressing out, trying to get it tracked down and working correctly. And you're operating in an ecosystem where there's lots of variables. Who knows what you're on for hosting, what other plugins you're using, what other themes. But once you get it dialed in, it's an amazing platform, but we fully expect people to have questions and, need support of all levels of ability. For some people, LifterLMS is their first introduction to WordPress. And it takes some time. So go easy on yourself when you're learning WordPress, when you're learning the product. I've been in WordPress for, I don't know, almost a decade now or whatever, but I'm still learning new things. I still find new features I did not know about.
I just taught you something the other day.
What was it? Remind me.
The time zone thing in the settings.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff. We can't know it all.
I was just going to say it's not an official support channel, but Chris's office hours are also, a good a good opportunity to speak to a team member and to get some of your questions answered. Maybe not, coding questions, but like I'm always joking, it's really hard to stump Chris. So if you subscribe to his office hours, it's worth stopping by.
Yeah, and you get that if you're you have the Infinity Bundle, it's part of that. So that happens once a week, and we have lots of great conversations. And I also just want to say that some of the people who've been coming to those, including some people on this call, they also throw out a lot of great ideas, and it's really, I'm really proud of what that's becoming, and it's just another great benefit to having the Infinity Bundle. Mm-hmm. So it's okay, Thomas.
Mark May says that your support is the main reason why I use LifterLMS with most of my clients now. I couldn't wait to spend money on the Infinity Bundle Developer Edition.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for your support, Mark. We really appreciate that. Yeah, so I think Mark's just kind of highlighting what we're saying is we are super proud of our support, and we do have really high standards, and it's just, we keep going with you until we get it solved. If you're getting outside the land of product support and you're really getting into custom development land, we are going to, explain the situation and point you to some resources. But there's a lot that our just support system can solve for you if you're having issues. Mm-hmm. All right. And just as another reminder, Leah, we'll come to your question there in a little bit. But if anybody else has any questions at all, feel free to use the Q&A feature. If you want to go live and, come on and have a back and forth voice conversation with us, click the raise your hand feature here in Zoom. But I wanted to touch on just this automations feature that we added to the LifterLMS private areas. It's kind of a surprise. It's not something we spent a lot of time in the early days of the private areas announcement talking about. So I want to make sure everybody watching this knows what automations are with private posts and how they work. So in a nutshell, what automations allow you to do is to set up one or a series of private posts in advance that, let's say you're a fitness trainer, and we'll use an example that we used earlier in our Facebook Live today. If we have a course plus coaching that's called From Couch Potato to Marathon Finisher, and we have our video course has some best practices about nutrition, training, preventing injury, recovery, and so on. But it also comes with coaching. We may have like a path that we follow one-on-one with our students in the coaching piece where we can kind of pre-schedule some very specific private posts in advance and introduce a little bit of automation to our one-on-one coaching and consulting. So what that might look like is if somebody buys let's say it's a $100 course or it's a $1,000 course plus coaching option, it's the same course with two access plans. One is $100, the other is $1,000. We can have an automation that's ready to fire at a minimum right away, right after somebody purchases the offer with coaching, and that a private post goes out that has some kind of intake form or needs assessment where the soon-to-be athlete fills out a form, talks about their weight, their age, any relevant history, their marathon goals, like let's say finish time goals, and so on. And then let's say the coach, the trainer, the site owner is going to deliver in a private post a customized training plan for that athlete based on the variables that they find out. Because it's not always a one-size-fits-all. Yeah, there's some general practices that the course teaches about how to get in shape from couch potato to marathon, but there's still some unique, people who have, different ages, different challenges, different opportunities when it comes to marathon training. Not all couch potatoes are the same. So that automation for private posts could be set up in advance. And essentially the way it works is there's that new engagement trigger that's part of LifterLMS 3.11 that allows you to trigger a new engagement based off of which access plan someone enrolled through. And if it was the one with the coaching, you can trigger an automation, or you can begin an automation as an engagement type. So if anybody has any questions about that, I know that's a little theoretical. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Thomas, and how I'm describing that. But that's what automations are all about.
Do you think it'd be useful just to kind of show the screen real quick, and rather than thinking about it? I think it is kind of a dense feature, and I think one of the reasons we didn't talk about it so much is because I came up with this and tried to explain it to Chris, and I don't think he believed that it was possible. So he's like, Thomas is never going to build that. He's just talking. So
well, part of it,
I'm just going to bother people because he can't deliver. But
well, this is what amazes me about Thomas is, you know, sometimes we take whole giant areas like e-commerce, or like what you see with something like marketing automation in a company like Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign or whatever, and he'll conceptualize it, simplify it down to the core pieces, and then build it related specifically to LifterLMS, which is absolutely amazing. So he basically built automation technology that is, you know, pretty phenomenal. I do believe you, Thomas. If you say it can be done,
yeah,
I believe you.
I'm just giving you what I've got on my screen right here is just the automation screen. It's fairly basic, but it's very powerful. And I can't wait to see how people actually start to use this, because I don't know exactly. I guess the couch to potato to marathon situation is possible, but I think the sky's the limit with what this can do. But essentially what it does is it allows you to create a series of post templates. So what this is just like a kind of a slimmed down version of what your private post creation screen would look like. You don't select which course or which student this is associated with. You just create the content. There's some merge codes here too. That's up on the documentation. I'm going to build in a button in our next version so you can kind of get a quick ad of the merge codes. But we've got a couple merge codes here. Like you could say welcome to week 1. And you can merge in like the first name or something like that. We've got a couple, again, you can look up the merge codes later. And then you can put in your post content. It's like, hello, we'll use first name again. Or we'll call him a couch potato because he's his couch potato today, but in a couple weeks he's not going to
get in trouble with that actual from couch to 5K thing that Chris ripped off.
Well, couch potato is something different. You're probably right, though. Anyway, so you can just create a series of these. Oh, and I skipped over the publication schedule. So you can say now, when Chris was talking about the engagements, automatically upon purchase of that higher level access plan, this private area post will automatically get created. So this will allow you to like kind of instantly grab that, what was it, a contact form with kind of like some intake information or something like that, Chris?
Yeah, needs an assessment.
So, I mean, we could like theoretically throw I don't have a good gravity form in here, but we could throw a gravity form in this private post or something like that, where they can then collect that information. And then you could, do your week 2 information, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Throw more Lipsum in there, and then say that's going to come out the beginning of week 2. So that'll be 7 days after your automation begins. So on and so forth. You can create like an unlimited number of things. And this will allow you to kind of have that one-on-one human experience in real time, but without the having to put in the effort of watching for all your new student registrations and then create their private content on a case-by-case basis. Now, of course, you might want to do that. You don't have to use automations. But that's kind of what this does. So that way, when this engagement is triggered, if I jump over here and ignore all my nonsense stuff, all of these schedule posts are just are automations that have been scheduled. So you can actually see this guy that I just demoed earlier. I think his name. I think that's this guy. Yeah, Hannah Parrish, or this woman. I guess Hannah's a woman's name. I have an automation set up for her, so she's now got a bunch of scheduled posts already. One on the new year, because I don't know why not. Wish her a happy new year. And then you'll see all these scheduled ones. So it'll automatically create those private posts for you, and then you'll see. I could come in here and see that, Hannah, nope, not the name. All right, well, that's not right. Whatever. Anyway, I'm supposed to be able to search that. Oh, because I'm searching for a course. Okay, let's search under the student, and then we can find Hannah. We've got too many Hannahs. Here we go. and I can filter down and just see all the automations that have been created for this student. So anyway, that's kind of a really quick version of what you can do with automations. But does that kind of help more maybe solidify that, Chris, instead of just
yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And on that note, we talked a little bit more too about automations in the 2 most recent blog posts on the LifterLMS blog. There was one, the official release post, which rolled out today, and there was another one several days ago, which goes into different ways to use private areas. If you're if you're not, you like the idea and you're getting interested in potentially doing some kind of coaching or done with you more high-end offer, those blog posts will help jog your creative brain into thinking about some things you may want to add if you're interested. So I just want to go over
question.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Yeah. Leah asks, have other course creators showed interest in creating an LMS or a Lifter-based course marketplace, which could be an opportunity to see each other's work, and also which could compete with other course marketplaces? Course builders could choose as an option to join or not join this course marketplace, and LifterLMS could take a percentage of the course selling. That's a great question. We've always kind of been aware of this this idea of having a course marketplace that people could opt into and submit their courses to. It's also something that not necessarily LifterLMS could build, but some publishing-minded entrepreneur out there. But one of the reasons we built this is a long time ago. Some people aren't aware of it because it's kind of a power user feature. So maybe I'll do a demo of it on the next LifterLMS Feature Friday video series that we do. But LifterLMS has the ability to import and export courses. So if such a marketplace were to exist, passing courses back and forth, at least at a rudimentary level, is already kind of possible. But we don't have any immediate plans to develop some kind of course marketplace that people could opt into. I do like the idea. I do like the idea of, just a community of LifterLMS users trying to figure out a way to team up and build a course marketplace in such a way that the best courses rise to the top. It can be challenging when there's so many different subject matters that people teach on. And I'm aware of this because I just see a lot of the pre-sales and support questions. Just the niches that people are into are so vast that to have like a anything courses site is there's just so many different courses out there that I think something like that might be more successful if it were focused on a particular niche, whether that's entrepreneurship or health or relationships, or even a sub niche within one of those categories. In terms of like trying out the idea, I think that would be my recommendation if somebody wants to try that. But yeah, it's a good question. I appreciate that. And there's 2 types of course builders. There's the expert or the teacher, but there's also somebody who kind of has the publisher mindset. When I first started building courses in the organic gardening and permaculture niche, I actually partnered with other course builders to build the platform. Those of you that are watching, I'm kind of live streaming the process of moving that old LMS platform over to LifterLMS and sharing the process. But with that one, it's like, I'm taking on the publisher mindset. I have deals worked out with the various experts. And yeah, that's basically a different way to think about an online course project. Is what if you were the publisher? You don't always have to be the expert to do an online course project.
Leah says, thank you for the response. Interesting.
Cool. Thank you, Leah. I appreciate it.
That's got to be French, right? Is that French, Allie?
It is French. I told you I speak French.
We just as a side note, I am working right now to get a French translator approved for our French translations on WordPress.org. So that is coming.
I Maybe
I've
we
seen
can
that
just talk
request a couple of times actually, specifically lately, so that'd be good.
for French. Yeah.
It's
Maybe we could touch on.
currently in the hands of the French general translation editors because I've done everything I can do, and I'm just waiting on them to approve the translator. So, go ahead, Chris.
I was thinking maybe we could just field a question here for anybody watching the replay or those of you watching that are interested. The world is a very big place and people speak a lot of different languages, as we know, and they may not want the mark complete button but to say mark complete or whatever. So Thomas, could you give us like a streamlined statement on how, if people want to use LifterLMS in a language other than English, how do they think about it? I mean, there's the course content, there's the words that the plugin itself actually outputs. Like, what do they do, or where should they start besides the documentation? Because we have it there. So go look there.
Translation is actually really complicated, though. So I wouldn't consider myself a translation expert. I speak English. I can kind of hobble together a little bit of like conversational Spanish, but I definitely can't read it. So I'm kind of maybe like a step behind on this, but I'm doing the best I can. And we have, what's really cool is that you talk about that open source stuff. The translators are actually doing the work for me. So all I need to do is just ensure I use the right functions in the code base. And you guys, the community of translators, kind of do the rest for me. But so if you're looking to use LifterLMS in a different language, you can use it in any language. However, we don't supply you with those translations. We just can't. Like, if you think the team is small now, just imagine like we'd need to find some rock star that speaks a couple hundred languages in order to make that happen. We used to bundle some translations into LifterLMS. It's kind of the way plugins used to do it. You'd open up the languages folder and you'd have like 50 different language files, and you grab the one you want and put it in a special place. We do not do that. One, it makes the code base really big. Unnecessarily for the majority of users, because nobody needs more than one language. Everybody only needs one language. And two, it's impossible for us to maintain and verify those because everything is community supported, contributed rather. And I can't do it, you know? So then I get all these emails that were like, hey, the translation's wrong. And I'm like, I don't know what to do about that. I really don't. Now the translator has disappeared, and he did it as a volunteer thing anyway, so he doesn't really want to help out anymore. So we no longer bundle those, but WordPress provides us with GlotPress, which comes from polyglots, which is a very fancy word for multilingual people. And on GlotPress, you can go to wordpress.org/LifterLMS. Click the translation thing on our plugin screen on wordpress.org. And you'll see all the languages that we have translation files for. And the way all that works is if we have a translation that's 90% more translated for your given language or locale, it'll automatically download that during plugin updates or WordPress core updates or things like that. And then as long as your language in your WordPress core settings is set to that language, all of the strings, let's call it like 99.99% of the strings in LifterLMS, because once in a while I get a translator that emails us and say, hey, you didn't translate whatever. And then I need to fix the code so that it can be translated. All of those strings in LifterLMS will automatically be translated as per that translation file. So that's kind of in a nutshell how it works. All you really need to do is select your language. Like WordPress really does the rest for you if that language file exists. You can, of course, create your own. So we have, I think as of the last time I checked, we probably have 8 or 10 translations that are 90% or more. And those stay pretty much up to date. We have a lot of really like those 10 or we've probably got 10 or 15 locales where at any given time they're upwards of 85%. That 90% threshold is the cutoff for doing it automatically. But those translators are really, really good, and they keep us up to date. They're using LifterLMS as development agencies or something like that. And again, that's all volunteer driven. So you could look up and thank them if they're in your locale. They would certainly appreciate it. And they're also, anybody can submit translations there. All you need is a free WordPress.org account, so you can go and it's really great for corrections. If one translator translates, I think there's something close to 5,000 or 6,000 strings in LifterLMS that need to get translated. Maybe they're doing it late at night and they're tired and they make a typo and they translate something wrong, or you disagree with their translation, which is often the case I find in some languages where it's just there's many different ways to translate something and the interpretation is different. You can always submit corrections, and most of our translators are pretty accommodating with that too, where they'll be like, oh yeah, you're right, and they just update it. So you'll get that update in the future. But you can also just do your own translation too. There's a great program called
Loco?
Well, yeah, there's Loco Translate, which is a plugin. It's a free plugin that lets you translate things right through your WordPress admin panel. I'm actually more partial to, like, if you're going to translate your entire plugin, don't do it through another plugin. That just adds weight to your website. It's less performant, et cetera, et cetera. But what is that program called? WP Pot? I'm searching my computer right now. I can't remember what it's called. Pot something. Pot. Oh, here we go. Poedit. Po are the machine files that the computer reads so that it can like translate stuff really quickly. Poedit. Thank you for, okay, yeah, he just threw it in there while I was stumbling around. And that lets you download our core language file, and then you can go through yourself and translate all those things, upload it to a file on your server. I'm not going to tell you where that is. Read the directions on our documentation on where to upload your custom language file, because I'll give you the wrong thing if I read it off right now. I don't remember. Somewhere in your language directory. And then that'll do the same thing basically as downloading it from WordPress.org automatically, which is pretty cool. And you can also use multiple translations. So the other thing too is like there's a safe directory in LifterLMS that'll get loaded first. So if you get one of the translations and you disagree with a certain number of them, but not all of them, and you just want to quickly fix them, you can upload your own translation file to our safe directory, and then the file, the automatic download file will get put in one directory. It'll merge everything together. The first one loaded works first, so you can overwrite those translations manually too. Chris mentioned Loco Translate. Again, it lets you do the same thing, but there's a really simple interface for it. So if downloading Poedit and updating things through FTP and all that stuff is too much, Loco Translate is a great way to do it, because all you need to do is just install the plugin, and then you could do all of that right from within WordPress. But the other part of that too is like that doesn't guarantee that your website is in your language now, because that translation stuff only goes for like hard-coded strings in the code base. So if you're looking at any of our settings, any of the options panels, like all of that stuff will be translated. But if you have, say, a widget, this is one I get all the time, where the default widget says like course progress. So if you install your translation before you add that widget to your site, course progress will be translated, right? But if you add your widget and then you install the translation later, that course progress title is saved to your database and can no longer be translated. So then you'll need to translate that manually using like the widget title field. Same goes for all of your course content. If you upload courses, lessons, any of those things in the WYSIWYG editor, you need to translate those yourselves. LifterLMS doesn't touch any of that. It's all strings that go directly from your editor to the database. So you need to translate those manually. And the other thing to note too is that there are hundreds of plugins out there, and LifterLMS doesn't translate your other plugins. So those other plugins have to do the same thing that LifterLMS does with their own translation files and stuff like that. So there's all that stuff too. Man, I could go on about this forever. It is kind of complicated. In short, if you're like having questions, just submit support tickets. The other thing is that the GlotPress community itself is really, really like vibrant. It's entirely volunteer based. They're just all over the world people that are just passionate about getting WordPress translated for you. So you can get to the GlotPress website and ask questions right on. It's like a P2 powered website, so you can just create a free account and ask questions there, read all their handbooks and training guides and stuff like that. Of course, we'll try to help you along too. So I'm going way too long about this. Is that enough?
I was laughing when Chris asked.
Yeah, he said streamlined
answer.
Well, this language, I mean, it's
the worst.
It sounds simple, but there's a lot that goes into it, so it's important to mention. And there's your course content, but then there's the stuff that the plugin puts out, and then different plugins are putting out their content. So it's a complex issue, but it can be done, and it's part of the WordPress mission and our mission at LifterLMS to be very international minded and a good global citizen. It's not just about the English language. Cool. Well, I want to give everybody an opportunity to ask another question. If you want to fill out use the Q&A feature here on the Zoom webinar, or raise your hand if you want to go live and have a voice conversation. But this is the private areas launch day. You can see Allie got confetti, so I got balloons.
You can make it
yeah. So this is like a birthday. This is a product birthday here. Thomas, you lose for flair. There's no flair.
Yeah, man.
You can just see your claws.
Yeah. I was
You don't even
planning
have.
on going and getting something, but I didn't. Yeah, I didn't do anything.
It's okay.
You were too busy actually writing the code and playing the product. So.
Yeah. So, but this is the last day of basically our pre-launch cycle of LifterLMS private areas. So after midnight Pacific time, the price of the pre-launch pricing is going away on the private areas add-on by itself, and also the LifterLMS Infinity Bundle pricing is moving on up after midnight tonight. So if anybody has any questions on pricing about private areas or the Infinity Bundle, feel free to ask. I can see we've got some hands up, so we're gonna get to that. Where are you? Michael, cool. I was hoping you would come back with some questions. So there you are. Michael, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, thank you. Chris, first of all, I need to just tell you how much I appreciate you and the team, Thomas, Ali. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I evaluated extensively, I want to say extensively, the market. I spent a lot of time on it, and I selected your company, and I'm really looking forward to working with you guys. So thank you, thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I know when people go into this LMS business and online education business, they typically do a ton of research, and I know it's kind of confusing and hard to tell and lots of options. So I'm glad to hear you ended up with us.
Yeah, me too. And I'm looking forward to growing with you guys. So here's my question. It's a simple one, I hope. I was able to incorporate the shortcode into a shortcode widget and display the private area. But for some reason, the private area sidebar is only displaying what appears to be shortcode. It's not actually displaying. Now I was curious if maybe my shortcode menu widget was conflicting with the menu sidebar, the course sidebar, or the lesson sidebar. I'm willing to deactivate that and give it another whirl if that may be the problem.
Did you submit a support ticket about this morning? I haven't been able to get back to somebody on this.
That was a different one.
I apologize. You're going to have to submit a support ticket.
No worries.
Yeah, I saw one other person that had that issue this morning, and I haven't been able to get through and recreate it. I tried a couple different themes, and I didn't see any immediate issues. But if you're adding it to a sidebar, why not just use the widget?
I used the widget, and it didn't work. And so then I used the, I have another third-party plugin called Shortcode Widget, and then I incorporated your shortcode into the shortcode widget, and it displayed.
Oh, so it is working.
It is within somebody else's shortcode widget for my sidebar.
Okay, that so that actually could be because not all themes display shortcodes within the widgets, within widget areas rather. So that could be the issue there.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just deinstall the shortcode widget and see then if your private area widget would work instead.
Yeah, give that a shot. I might be able to actually. I've already kind of figured out a way in my head. I think I know what's going on now, so I'll just need to. But if you submit me a support ticket, please, that would be really, really helpful. That way I could see all your system information. Check out the other plugins you're using. Again, for everybody that's listening, I know sometimes submitting a system report might seem like an extra step that we're just making you do because we're bullies. But it really, really helps me spot like known issues and recreate your environment. To try to recreate your issue before I figure out like what's actually going on. Chris mentioned maybe at the beginning of the webinar, we have a huge ecosystem that we're working with thousands of themes, thousands of plugins. So I try really hard to weed out issues beforehand, but sometimes I just can't. I can't test every plugin out there. So yeah, if you do that for me, Michael, I'll get you an answer in the next couple.
We'll do. And again, thanks so much to you guys. I know I've asked a lot of questions of late, and I just want to say I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Hey, before you go, Mark just mentions in the chat, he was just curious what theme you're using.
2017 or 2017.
Okay. Yeah, stock WordPress. All right. Well, thank you. good to hear your voice, and yeah, don't be
Same.
shy. It's all good to ask questions, and getting support, especially when you're first getting going, is just part of the nature of the beast. So thank you.
We also tend to see once in a while when somebody opens up LifterLMS and they submit 3 tickets on day 1, and they're like, "I'm sorry, I'm submitting so many tickets," and please don't ever feel sorry for submitting tickets. That's quite literally what the support system is there for. It's for you guys to submit issues.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, it really is helpful to help us improve the product too. Even if it's a quote unquote dumb question, right? It's likely not really a dumb question. It's like, oh, what is the software doing that's making that question feel dumb or something like that? So it helps us improve the product as well. So never be shy about submitting too many tickets.
Awesome.
I think
Michael,
20 a day is maybe too many though.
Yeah.
That's it for me today. I'll be in touch. Believe me.
All right. See ya. So we just opened the door for Michael, but no, that's all good. The most important, I guess, general advice I would give to people looking for technical support as well is, yeah, it's okay to ask for help. Try to provide as much context as possible, and doing the system report is super helpful. And sometimes we need, as much as we would like to solve it on the first interaction, sometimes there needs to be a little bit of back and forth to resolve certain issues. But
sometimes some issues can actually be found in our documentation, which I'll throw the link up as well. But often Thomas or whoever's working support will be able to throw you a quick, easy answer to your question, which can be found in our documentation. So that's also a good place to start.
Yeah, we also had a team meeting last week, and we've tried to improve the process of like helping you find the type of help you're looking for, whether that's pre-sales related or submitting a ticket, or perhaps you have a question about our Done For You service or something like that. So if you look at the top of the LifterLMS.com website, there's a new menu item called Help, which can navigate you to the various ways to get in. So there has always been footer links to the documentation. You can log into your account from the top of the LifterLMS website, but we're just trying to improve that and maybe remember how to get to the support system, or you have pre-sales questions or whatever. So just if you're watching this and you've got questions, the place to go is to that help menu item at the top of LifterLMS.com, and based on how you interact with the various screens in there, it'll take you where you're trying to get to. So, all righty. Do we have any other questions? I want to thank everybody for who came on this call. If you're happening to watch the replay video, it's going to be, it's a longer video, and if you've made it this far, thank you for staying with us on the journey. And yeah, if you have any questions at all about private areas or the Infinity Bundle, you're not sure if it's a right fit for you, feel free to shoot us an email at team@lifterlms.com. That's TEAM@lifterlms.com. If you are an existing Universe Bundle customer and you would like to upgrade into the Infinity Bundle so you can take advantage of the weekly office hours call and get private areas right away, as well as lock in lower pricing for the Infinity Bundle before the social learning add-on, advanced quizzing, and assignments drops into that bundle as well, now is the time to do that. You can log into your account on LifterLMS.com, click on the subscriptions tab, and there's an upgrade button, which will automatically calculate the value of your existing license, give you the difference to upgrade. If you have a single product and you'd like, just like the Stripe add-on, or you've been testing it out with one of our paid add-ons and you'd like to make the jump up to the Infinity Bundle, just shoot us an email at team@lifterlms.com, and we'll check the status of your license and send you a coupon code for the upgrade to the Infinity Bundle and walk you through how to do all that. So thanks again, everybody, for being a part of the Private Areas launch party. Thomas and Allie, it's always a pleasure to spend the time with you live here and engage with the LifterLMS community. Thank you guys very much.
Chris, can I give a quick shout out for anybody that wants to hop on our Twitter happy hour
Yeah, go for it.
At 7 p.m. Eastern time. Chris and I are going to be on Twitter answering your questions. So you can follow along with hashtag LifterLMS. Put it in the chat window for you there. And if you think of a question that you forgot to ask us, or if you just want to stop by and say hello, we'll be online from 7 to 8 Eastern time tonight.
Awesome. Well, that's it for the recording. And thank you again, everyone. And yeah, I hope you have a great